Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So here's what
Hello.
I know. I know that I'm Dan, and I know that because it says it on the screen. But other than that, I'm like super confused because I'm doing way too much of this stuff right now. So what show is this? Is this In the Bar, Side Blind? What is it tonight?
I think it's Sidebar.
Sidebar. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It gets confusing. I'm like on the air like 29 hours a day now. It feels like.
Yeah, Sideblind sounds interesting, though.
Sideline.
That's an
I
I
don't know.
interesting.
kinda
In the
like
bar sounds fun too.
right? Just saying. All right.
Yes, it
Well,
does.
welcome to it says it on the screen here, Sidebar. I missed that part. All right. So welcome to Sidebar. It's good to have you all here tonight. It's Texas night here at Sidebar. But
Yeehaw.
unfortunately, and we're gonna talk about the habitual enhancements in Texas and kind of how they affect things and why they might be bad or good or who knows what. But unfortunately, we kind of have to start with a topic that we touched on the morning show because it came to as a surprise to us, and that is Judge Boyd. So on Tuesday in San Antonio, they had the Democratic primary elections. And it was only Democrats running, Judge Boyd and another. And Judge Boyd and 5 other sitting Democrat judges fell that night. So her term runs out December 31st, and then after that, we will have no more Judge Boyd, unfortunately. Nor will we be getting streaming from the 187, because as it says right here in the San Antonio report, in the 187th Criminal District Court, incumbent Judge Stephanie Boyd lost to primary challenger Stephanie Franco, so we still get a Stephanie. But she criticized Boyd for live streaming hearings and picked up some unusual endorsements from organized labor and a few law enforcement. No Republicans filed for the seat. So she specifically ran against Judge Boyd on the basis of Boyd being somebody who live streams her court. So obviously, this new person will not be live streaming.
So,
not
did any
only
of you click through in any of the links in that article to see what this other Stephanie had been saying?
Oh, well, I was going to get there and I
Not yet.
hadn't yet, but feel free to share.
So, if you click in the article, that San Antonio news article that was shown, it shows a screenshot of a text that was sent out encouraging folks to vote for Ms. Franco. And the text says, Judge Boyd is making a mockery of our courts, but this weekend you have a chance to stop her by voting early. For years, she's been live streaming her trials on YouTube without any permission from the victims she's humiliating. These folks have been through enough. We can't let Judge Boyd keep exploiting them for her own 15 minutes of fame. That's why I'm hoping to earn your vote this weekend. And then yada yada goes on about polling and voting. That's why I'm asking for your support for me and for all the victims whose privacy I'm running to protect.
That's a flat out lie because every time there's a victim impact statement, she mutes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
And
low
keeps them off
information
too.
voters right there. You
Yeah.
know, it was interesting because that article postulated that it was people who were angry about Trump that came out. But what does that have to do with Boyd? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
But people get riled up by anger and hate, and they don't do their own research.
And even popularity.
I would say of all of the judges that we watch, she's probably one that protects privacy the best.
100%.
I agree. She
But-
mutes when she needs to mute. She turns her camera off when she needs to turn off her camera. Yeah, she does a really good job.
Yep. But to go back, there's one other thing I wanted to show. This is a statement that she put out yesterday. Thank you for your tremendous support throughout this campaign. I'm incredibly grateful for the encouragement, prayers, and confidence so many of you placed in me. I truly have the best staff a judge could ask for, and I am deeply appreciative of their dedication, professionalism, and hard work. Many have asked whether I would have campaigned differently. The answer is no. I chose not to respond to negative campaigning or dishonesty because that is not who I am, and it is beneath the dignity of the office. Some may wonder if I am sad or disappointed. The answer is a resounding no. I trust that God has plans, and I remain open to wherever he leads me. I will continue out my term as I started, committed to fairness, integrity, and faithful service to this office and our community. It is simply time for the next phase in life's journey. Thank you again for your unwavering support. It has been an honor. So right there, she's alluding to the lies and the negative campaigning that was going against her. But
Right.
well, it is unfortunate. I also maintain that it's not overly surprising, because you put yourself out there and you're going to get criticism. I mean, we saw it with Fleischer. I mean, they did everything possible to just rip him to shreds.
But he kept the seat, so I guess
for now.
Yeah, he didn't have a primary. He's
Didn't have
up
a
in
check.
November, but he wasn't primaried, apparently.
Yeah.
I just looked it up.
But I guarantee you the Republicans will throw somebody against him.
Yeah, they.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last time, as I recall, he barely won. So we'll see what happens. I mean, that's kind of a toss-up area. I mean, yeah, it's a metro area, which tends to lean very Democrat, but the rest of the surrounding areas are very Republican. So,
Yeah.
we shall see. And he's tried to come back streaming, but his stream it's not right.
It's not the same.
We watched a bit of it the other day, and it's just him and a camera that faces a wall.
Yeah.
And there's no joy in it. There's nothing compelling.
Yeah.
Even his attitude has changed as well, that I could see. Like, he's not as enthusiastic as he once was when he was live streaming. So it just kind of lost its spark there.
Yeah, so much of what made his stream interesting to watch was his rapport with, the defense attorneys that came in, with his staff, with the folks that came to the podium, and just losing that, I think, just loses so much of what made that really kind of an engaging courtroom.
Yeah.
Well, and he ran on the idea of reform too, and I think he's run into that brick wall of government and just how hard it is to change anything. And my impression on him, and I had this impression before he stopped streaming, is that I don't know that he wants to do this much longer. I could be wrong. I mean, he's trying to get the seat again, but I think he's lost his gusto. I don't know.
And especially in a state like Texas, where they don't like to change things so much as well. They have old laws that have been on the books for a very long time. It just doesn't seem like a very fast-moving place. So that's what I sense from it. They don't really like reforming too much.
I'm okay with slow moving. Actually, I favor slow moving, because if slow moving is done right, it can avoid mistakes.
True.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that. And if you look back at how the framers set up the U.S. government anyways, which we've completely just thrown out the window now, but it was supposed to move slow. That was the idea. But new rules now, I guess. So whatever. But yeah, so anywho, no more Boyd through the end of the year, but we'll try to show you as much of her as we can. And I suppose there's an outside chance that she could decide to declare herself a Republican and get back in that way. I don't know.
I don't think she'll do that, though.
I don't think she'll do that, and I don't know that she would get the support.
Yeah.
Might look as a way just to keep the seat rather than a true...
or declare herself independent, but her statement seemed pretty final on things too.
Yeah, just accepting the...
So.
Yeah.
What
Who knows?
No,
She's one of the people that doesn't like to cheat or deceive others. So yeah, if she's going to go into another party, I don't think she would do that.
No.
Well, I can tell you what will happen, and I'll guarantee you what I will be doing, and that's as soon as her term is over, I will be reaching out to her to see if she would be willing to come onto the channel and tell her story.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So those who don't ask don't get. The worst she can do is tell me no.
Nope.
Yeah.
Right.
So I will be asking. Same thing with Middleton. We'll see what happens.
God.
All right.
Either of those would be fantastic.
Exciting.
You never know.
Yeah.
All right, should we get on to the actual topic we were going to do this evening?
The other
Yes.
Texas stuff?
Yes, the other Texas stuff. So specifically here, what we wanted to talk about was the habitual offender enhancements, because we see this pretty much in all of the courts, and we've seen it in Boyd's court. We see it a lot with judges West and Stevens in Jefferson County, where you've got these guys and gals who have done a couple of bad things in the past, and then all of a sudden, as Stevens likes to put it, you steal so much as a pack of gum and it's a felony now. And that's where they run up against a problem, because all of a sudden they have these enhancements. And, what we're kind of wondering is, how does that affect their ability to plea? Does that put more pressure on them? Does it totally change the game? Stuff like that. So I think that's where we wanted to go this evening. And I know, Ashley, you've got a couple of case examples.
Yes.
But I think we start with Austin, because Austin has the actual enhancement information pulled up so he can explain what happens. So
Yes.
do you want to give us that info, Austin?
Yeah. So according to section 12.42 of the Texas Constitution / their statutes, and I'm just going to read this, so it's going to be a little bit easier. If it is shown on the trial of a felony of the third degree that a defendant has previously convicted of a felony other than a state jail felony punishable under 1235 sub A, on conviction, the defendant shall be punished for a felony of the second degree. So it increases each level. A third degree felony becomes a second degree becomes a first degree. And then if you're already convicted of or if you're already facing that first degree felony, it becomes a 15-year minimum to a 99-year maximum.
Well, that's better than I thought. Being Texas, I thought you'd just tell me that they send you straight to the chair. But okay.
Kind of think that's what that first degree thing is hinting at, but
Doesn't explicitly say.
All right. So basically what happens, and this is at the third offense, or you have 3 strikes and it's at the fourth? I think it's at the third.
The way I read it is at the third.
Okay. That's how I read it too when I'd looked at it in the past. So, okay.
Yep.
So, and then basically we're just bumping up a notch, but that obviously
Correct.
changes the game.
Yep.
So, Ashley, you had a couple of case examples of where this is kind of applied, and I think these are cases we've seen here on the show.
Yes,
yeah?
correct. Yeah, I have a couple. There was a Kendrick O'Neill, who was indicted for multiple causes, including felon in possession and deadly conduct, discharging a firearm. He also faced charges for evading with a prior. His prior convictions, which included a 2013 attempted robbery and a 2019 assault, exposed him to habitual minimums of 25 years to life on 2 counts. The district attorney offered him 15 years concurrently on all 3 charges, but he rejected the offer. Consequently, the judge set his case for trial, replaced his appointed counsel to accelerate trial preparation, and warned that offers would expire without new evidence.
That was in West's court, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that one. Okay.
The second one, I just have his name as Walker, was charged with injury to a child first degree. The state offered a 30-year sentence due to severe injuries, including facial fractures and lacerated liver, with the possibility of the offer worsening based on follow-up medical records. Walker rejected this offer, leading the judge to replace counsel to expedite trial preparation and emphasize the finality of the offer absent new evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the crimes that they're accused of, they are not little ones to start with.
No.
Right.
but it definitely changes the game for them. No doubt about that.
Definitely.
Lindsay,
So.
what are your thoughts on these cases, or just the whole idea in general of these people getting bumped up like this?
I mean, I was kind of caught off guard both times by Ashley mentioning that they replaced the court-appointed attorney to expedite the trial. And that's what caught me the most off guard is just like why that move was taken and what they were hoping to do with this expediting. I mean, obviously you don't want these to drag on and on and on, but it almost seems like a double hand forcing of like, hey, you're up against this habitual offender, and also we're going to speed things up, so you might be going to jail for a long time even sooner. Those are just kind of the two things coming off the top of my head right away.
Well,
I have always one thing that strikes me is how they quickly replace your counsel for the new one. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was saying I have a theory on that, having watched this happen so much in Jefferson County. I think what happens is they have a couple of DAs that walk these guys through the initial phase in the hopes that they'll plead out.
A district attorney,
Yep, and that's all those guys do. And then the hope is that they get them to plead. But then I think, did I say DA? I meant public defender. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean. They have a set of layers for these guys. But then what I think happens is that once they say, no, I want to go to trial, well, then they've got to rotate these guys out because they need to go take on other people and try to get them to plead.
Right.
Which is a messy way of doing things, in my opinion. But that's certainly what it looks like. Absent other evidence, it seems to be the way they handle it, because it happens every time. Every time somebody wants to go to trial, there's Judge West going, now, she does say, with your permission, I'm going to replace this attorney to someone who can do, who can prep faster and better for your trial.
That's a good way of selling it.
I've heard her use the word better before as well. So, yeah, it seems like
an interesting spin. Yeah.
Yep.
That is interesting, but I don't know. I feel like that is very counterproductive. Just because this new person has to relearn all that information that the prior attorney had or the public defender had. I don't know if they would be if they would do a better job at defending, but at the same time, my thought is maybe public defenders have less experience in these kinds of like defending people in actual cases, like going to court and arguing for them. Maybe they have less experience in that regard, and that is why she replaces them.
That could be. I mean, I guarantee you it's the ones that with the lesser experience that are working with these defendants early on.
Right.
But I feel like too, because, and here's the thing, Jefferson County is tiny and they have a case log as big as one in Houston. So it seems like everybody in Jefferson County is somewhere in the court system.
Feels like a lot of days.
They've got so much going on that I think even on the public defender side, they're probably doing everything they can to just get these guys to take pleas.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about Mercer when I was talking, Dan, with we know the public defender there. He's not really good at cases whenever he comes in. He says some weird things sometimes. So that's why I was kind of drawing. I know it's a different state and everything, but it kind of drew my attention over there because I was like, we see some public defenders not really able to it seems like they lack experience in that area. And
they're good at procedure, not an argument.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. But but this is where I think the enhancement angle of things is really troublesome for these defendants is that it just puts this incredibly larger layer of pressure upon them to try to find the best way out of it. Because, we had a couple of examples of people who have said, no, I want to go to trial, which we just talked about. But then how many just try to take a deal rather than fight it? Because the odds are so stacked against them to begin with. And then on top of it, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to enhance this so you might go away for life. Now, you can argue, and you know what, there's part of Dan that would argue this, that these people deserve that because they've proven that they can't, if they've gotten to that point where they're enhanced, they've proven that they can't get through life and get through society behaving like they should. In the same respect, I don't know that I like the idea of taking somebody who stole something twice, especially if it's nonviolent, then stole something a third time and now they're going to hang 99 years over their heads.
Right. And the Kendrick guy, Dan, he was arrested for possessing a firearm. And because of that, he's looking at an enhancement charge.
Yeah, and his previous stuff was like theft, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was theft.
Yeah.
So are you really going to put him away? He was offered 15 years. Yeah, are you really going to put him away for that more than 15 years? Oh, apparently.
Because he has a gun.
Just because he has a gun, exactly. So it doesn't add up because murder is one thing, correct? But possession of a firearm, when you didn't even shoot at anybody. Really?
Well, and that's where the 2A part of me comes out too. I don't, if you're a nonviolent felon and you're out, you should have your gun rights back.
Yep.
So because the Constitution does not make that exception. It's laws that have been written after the fact that do. I can understand keeping the guns away from a violent person. We can have that argument, and I'll probably land on the side of keeping them away. But other than that, dude gets his gun. So at least that's my view on it. So I have a problem with it just on that basis alone. But yeah, the idea of 15 years because the guy presumably wants to make sure that he's safe.
Yeah, he was offered 15 years, but he's facing more now because he rejected that deal. So yeah,
I have huge gaping issues with that.
And maybe he's hoping there's 12 of you on that jury box that goes, he's fine, and he walks away. What's that?
Yeah. He only needs one of me, and it is Texas.
Well,
that's true. Yeah, I'm just saying, he's probably hoping the jury goes, wait a second, and
and in that case, that makes sense why he would reject that offer because if
that's still a gamble. But
it is a gamble. It's
a
big gamble. Yeah, it's your life we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of it's pretty ballsy, to be honest, because
quite ballsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have the toss up there.
It is, but what a position to have to be in.
I know.
Especially, look, I don't know the circumstances of this situation completely, but let's just play devil's advocate and say the only reason he had it was for self-defense or defense of his family.
Or the fact he lives in Texas and gets served a gun with your tacos.
Yep.
No, that's Arizona. There's that perception of Texas.
Yeah.
But Texas only recently became constitutional carry.
That's true.
Yep.
So, if you want the Old West, you come to where the bunker is located here. Here it's illegal not to be carrying. They will haul you off to jail. The first thing they pull you over, sir, do you have your gun? Yes, it's right here. It's on my hip at 4:00. Very good. Now let's proceed with our traffic stop. Otherwise, they're like, get out of the car, sir.
Yep.
What I think maybe happened, because in 2013, he had attempted robbery. So maybe they're thinking that is what was
Violent.
A violent felony.
the violent felony part. I can see
that.
that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I would still put him away for that long because of it, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I get his choice to go to trial again, especially in Texas, because as we've said, he only needs one me on the
Mhm.
jury. But yeah, I don't like this.
And with the other one, with the injury to a child first degree, that's completely different, in my opinion, because
The other case or the other charge he had?
that case.
Okay.
Okay, different defendant.
Yeah, it's a different defendant. There's
Okay.
a injury to a child first degree
Okay.
was my other example, and he was offered a 30-year sentence due to severe injuries, including facial
liver.
the
Yes.
liver and everything.
What were his priors? Do we know?
Doesn't say. I don't know his previous priors, but in my opinion, since there was evidence that he injured a child in that way and everything, then I kind of see. I don't understand why he rejected that deal. In my opinion.
Yep.
Now that is the kind of area where I could get behind an enhancement personally.
Yeah.
Yep.
When we're talking about a crime against a child,
Yes.
some kind of violent assault, things like that, all day long. That
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, if
But
it's an
yeah,
assault against a child and it's not the first time you've been in front of a judge, that's
That's an
where
issue.
that's where this totally makes sense because you can kind of see the escalation pattern.
But if it was the first time they're in front of a judge, Lindsay, what do you think?
I throw the book at him personally, but that's
why
I'm not a judge
I
in
don't
Texas.
think my opinion would differ too much versus if it was the first time or the heaven forbid, like the third or fourth time that this has happened. So yes, I think it's very.
Yeah.
I understand. I don't understand why he rejected the offer there, but the first
there.
one I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one doesn't make sense to me. Now, Great Granny raises something interesting in the chat here. Do they deserve such harsh enhancements for something done 15 to 20 years ago? So should a time gap factor in?
Like a statute of limitations.
Yeah, because you can
Right.
look. I've said it before. Any one of us is only a couple of steps away from ending up in front of one of these judges with a serious charge, because that's just life.
Correct.
Right.
You know, for example, somebody rushes into my home and I take action to defend, but you know what? In the heat of the moment, they were retreating and I still shot. At that point, if they were retreating, that wouldn't be a good shoot and I would be facing charges.
Yep.
But so, I mean, any one of us could, but let's say, and I don't for the record, but let's say that I had 2 other felonies 30 years ago, but I've changed my life around. I'm a God-fearing man running a bunch of businesses, everything else. And then all of a sudden this other thing happens. Would that really make for an enhancement at that point? Because that's
I don't think it should.
you know?
I think
Right.
there should be a cutoff there. I agree with that.
Yep.
I feel like if it was drug related, like someone selling drugs, that would happen. And it was like 15 or 20 years ago, and they got caught doing drugs again. That would be, or selling drugs or doing something like that. I would not think something 15 or 20 years ago should be your track record per se.
I think it's generally I agree, but I also think it's very situation dependent.
Okay.
I would say that.
Like what it
there's
is.
Yeah, like what you did 15 or 20 years ago. Like, oh, you walked out of a liquor store with a 6-pack concealed in your backpack. Okay, we'll let that go. You roughed up a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you got
Or
busted.
committed murder.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
You got busted twice for dealing drugs 30 years ago, and all of a sudden times are tough, so you went back to it.
Yeah.
You dealt again.
Yeah.
Okay. So time and circumstance should factor.
Exactly.
But
it's
I don't
like anything we talk about. There's no one yes or no answer to
Mm.
a lot of these situations.
But I don't believe the enhancement law in Texas is written that way, though.
It's not.
No,
It's not. That is
pretty
the yes
black
or
and
no.
white.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even so, Lindsay, I think they should take into account of what you did that long ago, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But to enhance the current crime that's unrelated to that prior crime
Yeah.
is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
the
with me.
unrelated piece, I think, is what kind of is giving me
Yeah.
pause. Like,
Right.
If it's unrelated to that
and even if
prior
you reverse the
crime.
situation, like, you spend some time in jail for, something particularly bad. You're out, now you're on hard times, and you walk, again, using the example I said, you walk out of the liquor store with a 6-pack concealed in your backpack, and now
Mhm.
suddenly you're facing 25 to life for that. That seems like kicking a guy when he's down, quite frankly, but
Mhm.
I
It
don't
seems
agree
like
with
a
that.
waste of resources.
Yeah, that's true. Like, why
Yep.
are you giving that guy? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's got to
For-
be more
for
creative
15
ways to handle it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you're putting him away for a lot longer than that charge he just
Yeah.
picked up. So
Yeah, because if he's back out,
I mean, if you really wanted to get at somebody like that as an example, somebody who has a fairly low level crime that converts into a more serious one because of these enhancements,
Mhm.
get more creative with it. Like sentence him to 5 years of community service every friggin' weekend. That would do more good for the community, having him pick up trash for the next 5 years and ruin his weekends than it does to put him away.
Right.
That serves nothing except probably make him more of a criminal, because how good are jails and prisons at Reformation? They're not.
they're not.
Greg Granny also commented, is stacking unnecessary charges if you can prosecute the charge in front of you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So it's stacking up the
Yeah.
charges rather than just dealing with the, okay, you're here because you.
And we see them all the time, right? They'll drop charges in favor of the more severe ones.
Correct.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with Greg Granny too.
That's another problem that would be a whole other sidebar. Maybe we've done it on Sidebar already.
I think we have before.
We have.
Charges where one transaction can be charged 7 different ways,
Yeah.
Right.
and they'll charge it 7 different ways,
Mhm.
just so they
Hoping
can
that one will
got 7
stick.
charges against you. But if you act now for the low price of 5 years, we'll drop the other 6.
Right. So kind of more, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the situation for me, like I said. I think Lindsay's right. I think it just depends what it is and what the situation is. If somebody robbed a bank 15 or 20 years ago and they robbed it again, then yeah, I think that makes sense that you would use that prior offense.
Yeah.
If someone took, like in Lindsay's example, took the liquor out of the liquor store and put it in your backpack, but now they are accused of something totally different, then no.
So Helen raises the kind of an interesting situation where she said, I almost left Walmart without paying, went through self-checkout, scanned everything, bagged it, walked through the doors. Luckily, something clicked before I got out the doors. But yeah, so think about it. You could be totally reformed, going about your business, and then something like that happens, where it's I just walk out, I'm walking out and I realize, I forgot to scan the bottle of water, and now I'm just walking out with it. Complete accident and zero intent. But if you maybe had a couple early ones, suddenly you're looking at 25 to life for an
Or,
accident.
or even not only that, Lindsay, but if you're having a long day and there's a lot on your mind,
Yeah.
I will
Yep.
do things unintentional.
100%.
Correct.
Even driving at times, like
Yeah.
my mind will be on something else.
Ask me about some stop signs by my house.
So yeah, it's very easy to do. It's easy to commit some crimes,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Do you want to get the book thrown at you because of it? No, it was just an honest crime, but
Yeah, Helen, I was worried about catching the next bus.
yeah, there you
Been
go.
there.
Exactly.
Something else. Yeah.
Well,
Been
and
there.
that's
Yep.
that's an interesting topic too, because different systems like that, especially in these stores, are now the way they operate. I don't know if encourage is the right word, but they create failure.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mhm.
create these bad situations. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many times I try to avoid a self-checkout as much as I can now. I had a situation, this was almost a year ago now, where 4 times in a row exiting the grocery store, my cart got locked. And they would just come over and unlock it. And I finally, the last time, I called the manager over and I was like, what the F?
Mhm.
I said, every
Yep.
time I leave this place, you're locking my cart. Do you honestly think I'm a criminal? Would you like to see my receipt? Would you like to see that everything is
Right.
scanned? Well, here's what we figured out. You know what was setting it off? In the top of the cart where you put the seat up there,
Yeah.
I had my list and my phone sitting there, and the eye in the sky every time was seeing it as a product that I didn't pay for.
What?
Ah, that's crazy.
And that's why my cart was getting locked
Wow.
every single time. But it creates these situations where you're guilty before you've done anything. Now, if you're put through these situations and you've already got your 2 strikes,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's a seriously dangerous situation, because what if it was something innocent like
Yeah.
me that set it off, but then they do run the receipt and doggone it, you know what? You got 3 bunches of cilantro, but you only hit 2.
Mhm.
And 69 cents gets you 15.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they wanted to press it, they could.
They
You go
could.
to places like Walmart and stuff, they'll press it
I'll press it.
Mhm.
Yep.
because they're a
Mm.
bunch of buttholes.
Yeah. That, and on the other side of it too, a lot of them not only hit you with the charge, they ban you from every one of those stores in the country.
Right.
Yep.
So you get hit at Walmart, you're not going to Walmart ever again.
And if you're in
Nope.
a town where that's your resource for groceries that didn't take a small mortgage, you're really
Right.
up a creek.
Yeah, it's either the Walmart or the Whole Foods here,
Yeah.
or the Target. But as we know, Target's not cheap, and neither is Whole Foods. So,
No.
so
Total paycheck is what that's called.
yeah. So
But no, it's
I agree. I mean, even when I go to another example with, you were talking about technology, Dan. When I went to sometimes I hit the clearance racks at my local Kohl's.
Oh boy.
It's something I really like to do. And so I get shirts maybe $10. However, they have that original thing on them that the cashier has to take off before you
Mhm.
exit,
Yep.
or you'll get, dinged and stuff.
Yeah.
If I went through self-checkout, yeah, there'll be, I'm pretty sure I would miss one of those things, and I'll go through such checkout, and they'll probably ding me for it. So, no, your
Yeah.
story kind of brought that in my brain, Dan.
Or another example I experienced. I visited my family last summer, and girl shopping day and we were at Target, and my mom had like 5 or 6 candles that she was checking out, and we got the cashier so distracted by talking to her that she only scanned. She wrapped all of them, put them in the bag all nice, but she only scanned 2 of them. So the total came up. We're like, hang on, it wasn't that good of a sale. We look back, it's like, ma'am, you missed half our order. Now, if we hadn't been on the stick about it,
Yep, that would have been on you.
yeah, that would have been on you.
So I would hate for that to be an enhancement charge for anyone.
Luckily, no one in my family has any felonies that they've made me aware of. So,
but
So
it makes you think.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan.
go ahead, Dan.
So, do enhancement laws make sense to you in theory?
In theory,
there. And then we could talk about how we might make them better. But in theory, do they make sense, or should things just be charged as they're written? If you commit a second-degree felony, then it's a second-degree felony, and let's just stick with the way it's written.
I mean, if I just have my knee-jerk reaction, if you just came out of the street, threw a microphone in my face, and asked me that question, I would say yes. But if you had me sit and think about it, it's like, are they really as much of a deterrent as we hope they are? And I think we can see by watching court every day that they're honestly not, because we do see, kind of the same characters returning, or we see people come in they've got a rap sheet long as my arm, but yet they were still out criming.
And it does. And what if somebody's truly innocent and throwing these enhancement charges? Are you really going to put that kind of pressure on an innocent person? I don't think that's really right to do, and make them plead out for something that they didn't do. That doesn't seem to me.
Yeah.
I think for me, and listen, I didn't think this through ahead of time. This just popped into my head.
Yeah.
So have a discussion. But my current take on it is, I don't think I'm in favor of enhancement laws for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's almost an admission that what you have written in the code isn't good enough, isn't right. Well, then just fix the code.
Yeah.
But then as well, and we see this play out in the courts that we watch, whether it's misdemeanor or felony or whatever, we watch it all. Do the punishments ever really stop it? I mean, seriously, if you look at death penalty states, they don't have any less rates of murder than the ones that don't have the death penalty. Murderers are going to murder. Thieves are going to thief.
Yep.
I mean, statistics don't lie. So if that's the case, then if they don't do anything, why have them?
Yep.
I mean, there has to be a punishment for the crime. So I'm not saying
of course, just the enhancement.
However,
was it optics to appear that we in the state of Texas are tough on crime?
Yep,
that's exactly what it is. Because these things, it's the same reason why DAs try to get all of these people into plea deals, is because then at election time they can go, I've got a 95% conviction rate.
But it makes him look like a bully too. It makes them look like they're bullying people as well. And I think in a lot of these cases, they are, by enhancing it.
Yeah, but tough on crime sells. That's the thing.
I know. But
some jurisdictions
doesn't make it right, though.
No. But
jurisdictions,
those who want power will go find their power in any way that they can.
Yeah.
And very often that means we're not going to tell the truth. And that's something that crosses, all parties and all areas of the world and everything else. Those who want power will manipulate to get the power. So
I would think, as someone from the public, I would want my prosecutor not to be fair. And I feel like a lot of these enhancements are unfair. And I know what you said about it sells, Dan, but there's something dirty about it to me.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm
yeah,
saying
no.
that's
Right.
the facts of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, but it's very dirty and shady. I feel like they should be above that. Especially working in government and things like that. And I know government's not clean. I mean, I'm not going to go there. But I'm just saying someone high in a higher position should be a good influence instead of a bad one. And that I don't feel like that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say some jurisdictions are more about punishment, less about rehabilitation and
Yep.
keeping them at that one charge and one charge only versus keep coming back.
What you're going to use the person's history to ruin their life technically, and you're going to make it so they can't get a job or they can't like do what they need to do to survive in society, making it even harder for themselves. And if you make it harder for them, they're just going to end up right back in prison anyway. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a cycle, and I feel like enhancements make that cycle, makes it
Tougher
worse.
than it needs to be.
Yeah, tougher than it needs to be. Exactly.
It is, but let me call out the ugly thing that's perhaps sitting in the room at the moment. Do they even care? Does it? And I'm
They
using
being who?
I'm using generic DA number 7 here. Okay, I'm
Okay.
not saying that they're all created
If you're a
equal,
DA, got it.
but does generic DA number 7 really care if he ruins somebody's life?
They should care.
They should, but do they? With everything we see in the courts, do you get the impression that they really care? I'm kind of
I don't think they
maybe,
do.
but I know there are some that don't.
I
Yep.
think there's some that, I don't want to generalize, right? But I think there are some that don't, just because I think
Yeah.
they
Yep.
are, in a way, being the good guys, putting the criminal away.
Yeah, that's where, like, if you kind of caught me disassociating a bit, it's like, I mean, it's gotta bother them in some regard, but I think you also have to kind of rationalize it
It's
in
their
your
job.
head. Like,
Yep.
this guy might think I ruined his life, but he ruined his life by committing the crime in the first place and keeping on criming, and I'm keeping our community safe. Like, I'm sure you can explain away anything. I'm sure they can explain away this.
Has
Well,
that superhero arc to it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like
Then
anti-hero, but yeah.
there are some people that just get off on the power. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing.
That too.
Yeah.
Want to rack up the W's. It's the same kind of mentality that drives successful athletes and successful business people and all of that. But if you look at how is success categorized for a DA?
Conviction
in
rate.
wins.
The conviction
Convictions.
rates. Yeah.
It's in wins. It's not in yeah, we saw 100 cases this month, and you know what? 50 of them, they should never have been prosecuted, or it was good that we lost them or something like that.
Yep.
They should have a different incentive than the conviction rates. They should have, yeah. I don't know what it would be, actually, talking out loud.
I don't either, but the issue is, I think, that the way the system is set up now in places like Texas, how it's set up everywhere, is that it comes down to your conviction rate. What's your win-loss ratio?
Yeah.
So, so there's that. But then in a place like Texas where you have the enhancements, they've got to be looking at these people that have the 2 strikes already and just salivating. Like, that's a W, because I'll get that person to plea.
Yep.
When they might not even be guilty.
And listen, I'm not saying that every single DA is corrupt, but
Right.
the system is set up in such a way that the only thing that matters when it comes to their performance review is the number of wins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not justice.
No.
And the defense attorney, it's the other way, right? They want to make sure their client gets off. That's how the number of wins they have there is
Yeah.
how it's justified as on their side. So
Yeah.
For a private
Mm.
defense attorney, but I don't know if a public defender looks at it quite the same way.
maybe not, Dan. Yeah, you have a good point there. Maybe a private defense attorney, because he is a sole practice, that it looks good on paper how many cases he's won. But I don't know. Yeah, public defenders might have different incentives because they work for the court.
Well, let's be a little bit conspiratorial. Who's paying them? The state.
Mm-hmm.
This thing. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and the state
Mm.
has a different set of goals
Yep.
from the defender,
Right.
rather.
Yep. And I think I don't know about everywhere, but I know some public defenders, that's actually an office inside the DA's office.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're working, even though you're a public defender, you're working for
For
the
the
DA.
Right.
That seems like a conflict of interest.
I
kinda
was
do
going
too.
there too, Lindsay. My brain
I
was going
can
there.
see why they're all coming from the same pool, but
Yep.
you're up against your boss
Yeah.
in court. Doesn't feel right.
In this has been about a year ago now, but somewhere on the channel is a video that we did that breaks down whether or not you
Yeah.
have a right to a public defender.
Yeah, I
And
watched that one.
in that we talked about a couple of the different ways that the public defender system works. And in a lot of areas it is kind of run and owned by the state. In other areas, if you're going to be part of the bar, you have to have a certain number of volunteer hours and you're just going to get assigned somebody.
Mhm.
Interesting.
You know, there's a lot of different ways that it happens, but in a lot of areas, especially the urban areas, it's a state run thing. And, huge conflict of interest. It's not good.
No, it's not. And now my conspiracy hat is coming on too. About that.
Yeah.
I don't think I thought about it in detail that much, but that's not cool. I don't think that should be the case. I think it should be a private entity and not a government entity, but I wouldn't know how that works.
God.
But
Both. Sorry, anytime I hear private entity, I kind of like my skin starts to crawl a little bit. You're like they're beholden to only themselves.
well,
Mhm.
yeah,
Could be good
but
in
if
some
they're-
cases and also terrible in others.
Well, if they're a private entity, though, they will need something for their services still. So I don't think that would work either.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would fix that.
I don't know. We've watched so much court over the last year and some odd months here. And I don't know about all of you, but my views on the whole system have evolved greatly and they continue to evolve. And I think it would be easy for people to point at me and perhaps you guys as well and say that we want to let all of the criminals free and we don't want them punished. That is just totally not the case.
I invite that person to watch our
No.
chat during any given.
Yep.
Exactly.
We clearly don't feel that way.
I believe that you need to be accountable for your actions.
Yes.
And we all make mistakes. We all
true.
do bad things. So at some point, we're all going to have to be accountable for something. I know I have.
Yeah.
And I've always
Right.
tried to hold myself accountable when I've messed.
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean that I trust what the state is doing to execute on that punishment. And the more and more I watch, now look, we see some good judges, but the judges, their hands are tied by the laws that have been created. And
That's
some
true.
of the laws,
Yep.
some of the systems just make no sense whatsoever. And
Yeah.
the way that this Texas habitual law is written, it
Mhm.
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah,
needs-
it's
Yep.
weird.
It needs, in my opinion, it just needs to go away. If you think that a certain crime isn't being punished harshly enough, well, then rewrite it so it's punished harsher.
Yeah.
Agreed.
rather than, okay, well, you did this little theft felony once, and then you did this burglary thing, and now you've got a gun. So yeah, that's 5 consecutive life sentences now.
And it, to me, is different. If it's like within the same year or 2 year, or no, in the same year, let's say you messed up twice in 1 year. I see that differently than someone that's messed up across 5 years.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. The way it's written, you can't apply it situationally.
Yep.
All right, so that's the problem there.
But they're not going to fix it. There's no incentive. There's no incentive for the legislature to fix it because they've already written the law. And there's no incentives for the DA's office to push to get it fixed because, as I suggested a few minutes ago, if they see somebody who's got 2 previous convictions, in my mind, they got to look at that and go, cha-ching, this is an easy win.
And there's also the money aspect as well in terms of what they can charge the defendant for things correct.
Barbara, did you just give away the case that we were watching today? Because I was going to show the rest of that tomorrow. Ignore Barbara's chat.
Ignore that particular. The rest of them are fine. Say hi to Barbara.
Just ignore what
Barbara
she said.
love, but don't look at that one.
All right. Anyways, best of intentions, I'm sure, but we weren't done with that case. Anyways, we got a couple minutes left, and then we got to go anyways. Final thoughts on this whole thing, Austin? Final thoughts on all habitual Texas BS?
It needs to be changed, but I don't see it being changed. That's as good as I can put it.
All right. I would tend to agree with that. Ashley?
I think Texas has bigger fish to fry than enhancing crimes that happened a while ago. I think instead of going after people that have committed past crimes, they can put more effort into making systems better, but they're not going to do so. So I just feel like their energy is put toward the wrong thing.
All right. Lindsay?
Is appearing tough on crime more important than correctly prosecuting for the crime at hand? I think that's what Texas needs to consider. But I agree with Ashley in that Texas has far bigger problems to deal with. That they probably aren't going to get to that anytime soon. But on the whole, I disagree with the policy, even though maybe their intentions were aimed in the right direction.
Okay.
Sorry, Lindsay.
I think my final thoughts are the more and more of this stuff I watch, the more and more I question the way laws are set up. And I continue to default back to the idea that we have way too many of them.
Yep.
Because, like we mentioned earlier, you're getting charged with 7 different things for the same transaction.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. I have a problem with these enhancements. None of it makes sense. Now, I'm a huge believer in accountability. If you've hung around me long enough, you know that. I believe in accountability for everything. You have agency.
Yeah.
However, I don't like the way the systems are set up to handle this stuff. What do we do about it? I don't know. I don't know if we can do anything about it because at some point it just grows too big to be dealt with. And I think that's probably where we're at.
Yeah.
But the good news, I suppose, is per our normal arrangement, we solved nothing.
Yeah. This was the most serious and on topic I've ever seen this show go, or seen in a very long time.
We didn't have the humor as much because of Mike being missing. but
I think just the topic too.
and also the topic,
Yeah, the
because
topic
it is a
was-
serious topic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
didn't lend itself to
serious
finding
charges.
skiing nuns.
No, I spend my humor in the pre-show, so I'm all out for today. I'm just serious now, but
Yep.
yeah, all right.
Speaking
this is a
of, we
good
will have
discussion.
Blotter in tomorrow morning's pre-show, so I think everyone
Ooh.
here is a member. But if you're watching, not in the chat, and not a member, maybe consider fixing that so you can
You
hear
should
the
fix
antics of Leelanau County tomorrow morning. It's
There
a
you
good
go.
one.
I also have a very good MST 3K short for tomorrow morning.
Woo!
So between that and the blotter, it'll be good pre-show. So join us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, a half an hour early for the pre-show if you're a channel member. If you're not a channel member, fix that. And thank you to Ashley and Lindsay and Austin and even Michael, wherever you are. This was show number 52 already of Sidebar. And this is one of my favorite things to do, is get on and chat with you guys. And the neat thing was, this wasn't my idea. It was you guys' idea. And it's been a hoot. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for
Dan.
giving us a
Yes, thank
platform,
you.
Dan.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
And taking
All right,
chances
guys.
on all of us.
Now it's been fun. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. In the meantime, take care. God bless.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good night, y'all.